Alright guys, welcome back to Jake's RC Addiction. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different that I think will go out to a lot of viewers that are probably looking for something like this that maybe haven't seen something like this. So what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about what RC is best for you to buy when you first buy one, and if you buy used, what to look for if you buy used, what to look for on the RC when you buy it, okay? So, first thing we're going to start off with is scale size. Now, scale size is very relevant to what you want to do with RC, because this here is classified as a crawler, it's classified as a rally car, stadium truck, two-wheel drive buggy. They also have four-wheel drive buggies. They also have two-wheel drive stadium trucks, and they have four-wheel drive stadium trucks. This is going to be your short course truck. They have two-wheel drive short course trucks and four-wheel drive short course trucks. And then your monster truck class. Monster truck class is also available in two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. So let's start off by talking about scale size. So they sell scale crawlers all the way down to 1/24. They might even sell them smaller and off brands, but brands that are going to be known. Axial is a big one that sells the SAX24. Enduro sells a 24 scale crawler. Charisma sells a 24 scale crawler. And Charisma is also the one that makes this car. But more to come on that later. And then, come over here. You can see this. This is a 110 scale crawler made by Traxxas. And you got your 110 scale speedrun vehicles. You got drag cars. And you've also got just real cool scale trucks. You've also got a 116 scale cars. You've got Coyote Show buggies that are going to be more aimed towards kit builders, and Tamiya buggies that are going to be more aimed towards kit builders. And then you got your 110 scale on-road cars, 1/8 scale on-road cars, 1/5 on-road scale cars, two-wheel drive short course trucks, and then you also got your nitro class. So in this video, we won't be talking about nitro, because if you want me to be honest with you, if you're a beginner, I think you should try to stay away from nitro at first, because nitro is very finicky and it kind of becomes a pain. I think it aims a lot of people away from the hobby when they start with it. So today, we won't be talking about that. But we're just going to cover some of the real basics quick. RCs are made from 132, all the way up to 1/3. I mean, there's guys that make their real cars into RCs. It's been done before, just so you know. But what it's really going to come down to when you're buying an RC, the first thing you want to find out is what are you looking for when it comes to an RC. Do you want something like a stadium truck? Do you want something more aimed towards like a track that's maybe not as much of a friendly basher? Maybe you got a local track that's cool and you want a buggy to drive on it. Maybe you like the realism of the short course trucks or the crawlers. So maybe you want a short course truck that you can take to the track, but you can also bash with your friends. And then maybe you just want all out insaneness, and you go for something like a Traxxas Max, which is an awesome truck. This is a 110 scale, but the new Traxxas Max Wide Max I'm considering more of a 1/8 scale, just my opinion. Or maybe you just need something you want to drive around the house, like these little 124 scales, which do an awesome and fantastic job. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything off my table, and we're going to talk about these separately, individually, and I'm just going to go over them quick and show you what they are. So guys, the very first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about 124 scale cars, and we're going to talk about crawlers, specifically 1/24 crawlers, but it's going to apply over the same thing. So let's get this one out of the way real quick. So I'm just going to take the body off this one to show you guys what's under the body. This here is called a Charisma GT 24R Rally, and this is the Subaru edition. So when we say hobby grade RC car, what does that mean? Now, to me, when I define a hobby grade RC car, a hobby grade RC car to me is something that you can buy parts for. And these little 124 scales are hobby grade cars. So as I said, this is a hobby grade RC car. As you can see, this is more of a modular design that's all in one, but this thing can be taken apart and you can buy parts for it. Also, when I think of hobby grade, something else I really think about is turning, and this thing has proportional steering, which means where if you have an RC remote control, when you turn this wheel just a little bit, this RC is going to turn just a little bit. Now, if you don't have proportional control on an RC car, what that means is even when you turn this wheel a little bit, this is going to go all the way as far as it can to steer. And then also there is proportional throttle and non-proportional throttle. And that is basically the same thing as the steering, besides it's not to do with steering, it's to do with going. So with this car, when you go, if you give it a little bit of throttle, it's going to go very slow. Now, with a proportional car, it's one speed all the time. So you barely hit that throttle, that car's going to go as fast as it can go, or whatever it is allowed to do. So now throw this back on. And this Charisma GT 24-hour rally, this thing will run you about $130 to $160 depending where you get it. My local hobby shop here in Minnesota sells it for about 140 bucks plus tax. So we're going to go ahead and throw that one up. These cars are also sold in different styles, just so you're aware. So now here it is, we're going to talk about this little crawler. And there's a couple really nice things that I'd like to point out about these little axial crawlers. These things are very slow. They're a crawler made for going slow. So, and this is also going to have your proportional control, proportional steering, proportional throttle. It has body clips, it has a removable body. You can paint new bodies for it. You can get new bodies for it. You can get new parts for it. It is hobby grade. There you go, body flips up. Now the cool thing about these 124s, most of the 124s that I've seen come with batteries for the truck and the radio, which is very nice. So in other words, when you walk out of that hobby shop with it, you don't need to go buy those things, they're already in it, so it's not an extra add-on. And these 124th SCX, if you're just looking for a little crawler from the house, they do an awesome job. This is a crawler, so it will crawl over things, of course. It is fully hobby grade. They sell upgradable parts for it, which is fantastic. Something like this you can get started in depending on what model you get. Anywhere, I think they're from like 125 all the way up to 150 for the most expensive one. And then all the RC cars we're talking about here today, guys, I am going to link down below. So you can find them. So next up, guys, we are going to talk about the two-wheel drive 110 scale RC buggies. There you go, give you a little shot of it. So as you can see, here's a 110 scale buggy. So just to give you a comparison, I will keep the 124th down, and I will be showing you the 124th up against everything. So there is the 124th on top of the RC buggy. As you can see, quite a difference. The RC buggy is a little bit bigger, actually a lot bigger. This is also going to be two-wheel drive, meaning your rear tires are the only two that are going to spin. Your front are just sitting on stub axles, so they are free spinning with bearings usually in the wheels, or bushings depending on what RC it is. Most of your RCs nowadays, they're going to come off with clips, but there are some that have the Traxxas body system that is clipless. Go ahead and pull this body off. Give you a better look under the hood of a big scale RC. So here you go. Here is under the hood. So you're going to have a full-size 10 scale steering servo sitting under here usually. You're going to have your brushless ESC, your motor, your receiver, and your receiver box. And then you're going to have your brushless motor on the rear on most 10 scale two-wheel drive vehicles. Some are a mid-motor, meaning they are sitting on the chassis. And some vehicles are front-wheel drive, meaning that sometimes the motor can be in the front, but usually they're not. Usually they're in the back and they're ran by a belt up to the front or a drive shaft up to the front. So as you can see here, pretty basic. This is your 10 scale two-wheel drive buggy. There's different brands. There's ones that come with metal chassis, plastic chassis. It just depends on what you want. This is going to be more for a track guy or for someone who likes going to the track. This buggy is also a lower grade dual drive buggy, so this buggy could also be a basher if you wanted it to be. It does have pretty thick plastic parts on it, so I would trust to bash it. That is all I got for the two-wheel drive buggy class. Most buggies will also sport a wing on the back. There is your brushless motor, as you can see it in the back side there. So guys, that's all I got to say about two-wheel drive buggy. Now we will move on to our next one. Alright guys, so here it is. Here is a two-wheel drive stadium truck. This is a cheaper brand known by ECX. There he goes to give you a view of what the truck looks like on the outside. Now once again we'll take a look at the chassis. So as you can see, again in the chassis there is your steering servo sitting, there is your receiver sitting, there is your brushed ESC, and your brush motor is back here on the back. Nothing too special. Once again, just a two-wheel drive car that will get you through the day and be a lot of fun and not break the bank. So this car here can be had for about $149.99, which is a good deal, but you will need a battery and charger to buy separately if you are buying new. And just so you guys know, all the RCs we're going to talk about today are hobby grade and they are proportional control. So just so you know. Alright guys, so next up on the list, I did not have this on the table in the initial video, but I wanted to show it to you guys so you know what you can get, what there's available out there. We'll go ahead and take the body off. This here is a Traxxas Trax Crawler. Do a spin for you quick. So there you go, there's a spin. And the reason they call this a Trax is because it does come with RC tracks to drive it. And it includes 4 of them when new. No, technically this is just a TRX4 Sport is what they would call it. My version is just the Trax because I bought it with the Trax so I could have these for going out in the snow. But if you want me to be completely honest with you, after I bought the car, I was kind of mad about the Trax with it because the Trax just weren't that impressive to me in the snow, just my personal opinion. But just so you know, this truck does come with Trax, and that's going to make more sense when I get to the price point on this thing. So this is going to be your average 4-wheel drive crawler. Now this thing does come pretty scaled out from new, as you've seen it when I spun it. It's got a snorkel kit on it. It also has the stuff on the back, fake gas cans, and then it's got like shovels and stuff in here, and it's got a fire extinguisher and like a fake jack over here, and then it's also got these boards to help you get out of sticky situations if you get stuck. You probably could use them in the RC world if you wanted to, but they're screwed on there, so if you're out in the field, you're not really going to take them off to use them. Pull the body off. Now, something I want to show you about this thing that's very cool, and will also make more sense when we get to that price on it. This thing is fully wired up with LEDs. Has LEDs all the way around it. Headlights, taillights, and it also has a bar up here. They are not functioning though, so meaning when you steer, oh, the servo's on so I can't turn it, but when you steer, it's not going to blink, which is okay. Under here, I'll just show you guys really quick. So as I said, some motors are going to be mounted in the front. On most of your crawlers, or a lot of your crawlers, the motor is mounted up in the front to help with that front weight, to help pull up things. Sometimes your batteries will also be mounted up here. Sometimes they'll be mounted in the back, sometimes they'll be mounted in the front. Crawlers, it just depends what brand you buy. Here is your receiver box with your receiver in it. Over here is your electronic speed control that is brushed. Most of your crawlers you're going to buy nowadays, guys, are going to come brushed out of the box. They do sell brushless systems for them, but just keep that in mind when you're buying one. Most of them are brushed. There is a couple brands out there. I think Red Cat still offers a brushless one, but just keep that in mind when you're buying. And then this is a crawler, so it's going to have the crawling features of the suspension. And it is also going to be very slow, guys. Keep in mind that an RC crawler is to crawl over rocks, brush, sticks, leaves, logs, anything you want to crawl over, you can crawl over pretty much with an RC crawler. So keep in mind they're going to be very slow. Out of the box, I mean, down the road, if you want to make them faster, you can. But if you're going to use it as a crawler, there's no point to make it faster. A brush crawler is plenty sufficient for me. Maybe if you're in competitions and stuff, it's nice to have brushless. But just my opinion on it, this truck is going to run you $529.99 plus tax because it comes with the tracks and the LEDs on the body and the scale features. However, they do sell a Traxxas TRX 4 Sport that is, I believe, $329 or $369 now. So let's keep that in mind when looking at crawlers. Alright guys, so up next you're going to have your Scale SCT truck. This specific truck is called the Losi Baja Ray 110 scale. And this truck, another really cool feature of it is it does actually also have working lights. It has a working beam up here. And it also has a tail light back here. They are not real functioning lights. Well, they are real functioning lights, but like when you stop, I don't believe the back light stops with it or gets brighter. So, now this truck is a little bit different than a lot of the others because this SCT truck actually has a real live axle in the back, which is going to make for more realistic driving ability. And another thing to note about this truck is the body is not the easiest to get off in the world. So most of your stuff is accessible from underneath, like here's your motor. I guess to get to the ESC and things, you will have to go up through the top of the chassis. But just something to keep in mind when you're looking at a truck like this. These are a lot of fun. This truck will run you $500, but if you look, it is really realistic, as you can see. And that's all I really got to say about this. It's going to give you more of a realistic driving experience. These trucks usually don't make as good of bashers because when you're heavy jumping them, the back axles like to break a lot and things like that on them. So just keep that in mind. This one also does come with a real working rear wheel. Which is very cool. So you do have an extra wheel at your disposal if you need it. So there you go guys, that is it for the 110 scale SCT truck. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse of another SCT truck. More of an actual basher SCT truck type thing. There's your chassis layout, the motor in the back. This is a two-wheel drive. That other one that I showed you is a four-wheel drive, so just keep that in mind. And this is more of your actual style chassis with an independent suspension. So just to give you an idea of what something like this looks like. And this truck here in brushed form will run you about $150. Okay, so next up is going to be my all-time favorite truck. And this is a Traxxas Max. So now this truck is not stock. This truck is actually very upgraded from being stock. But this is a four-wheel drive monster truck, and I just wanted to give you an idea of what the chassis layout looks like. This is also Traxxas clipless design. So here you go. Here is an overview of the chassis layout. You have your servo down here, your receiver here, your motor and your ESC, and then you just have it to the back, and there you go. Now this truck is going to be aimed at more of your big basher guys that are looking to send something high in the air. This will not make a good track vehicle, but it is a lot of fun to drive, and it's a great basher, guys. So make sure you check it out. If you are looking for a big basher, this truck is a little bit more expensive. I think this one's actually the most expensive one we talked about today. Yes, it is. This truck will be $569, completely stock from Traxxas. So it's just something to kind of think about. if you look underneath, you can tell it's got 4-wheel drive driveline. It's all wet because I drove it yesterday. But as you can see, you have your center shaft and your 2 diffs. So just something to think about, guys, when you're looking. That will be it for the Traxxas. Alright guys, you guessed it, next up is going to be talking about RC radios and where you get the most bang for your buck when it comes to them. Okay, so next we're going to talk about RC radios, as I just said. So we're going to start just by looking at each of them. So this here is going to be your DX3. This is a pretty standard ready to run radio. It does have quite a bit of functions. As you can see, most RC radios, you're going to have your functions up here on knobs, your bind, and then your on and off switch. Now this specific radio that comes with the Baja array, if you are using the smart stuff in it, I will let your local hobby shop explain smart to you, or if you're going to buy online, then go online and research what smart is. I just don't want to put it in a video because it's going to take a while to explain. So this here has your battery level if you're running smart batteries and your smart capable RC. This is a ready to run radio. This radio came with the Baja array, so just something for you to think about. And it does take 4 AA batteries. Then stick that one back over here. Now your next radio is going to be a STX2. This is running FHSS firmware or signal. This is about the cheapest of the cheapest radio you can get. And then you have all your buttons on the top here for different functions. You're going to have your throttle trim, your steering trim, and then, or sorry, that's your rates, meaning how fast it'll go or how slow it'll go, and then how far it'll turn or how far it won't turn. And then this is going to be your trim, so if your car is going a little bit forward, you can turn this down a little bit, and it should slow it down. Steering trim, if your tires aren't quite straight, you can turn this and it'll make your tires go straight or whatever you want. And then you have your reverse switches. So for steering, if your car is turning this way and it's going right this way, well, you'd like it to go left this way, you flip that switch and it'll make it go left that way or right or whatever you want to do, the opposite of what you had it at. So that is it. So now next, we're going to talk about the Traxxas TQ radio. And I'm being completely honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of these for a ready to run radio because they're very hard to learn. Because the way you have to program this radio is actually all through the set button and watching a sequence of lights to get to what you need to get to. Not my favorite. It does have steering trim on the radio, but that's it. It doesn't have no throttle trim. I really wish Traxxas would incorporate a throttle trim on their cheaper radios. Or actually their higher grade radios also. But this here is just your standard Traxxas radio. This came with the Traxxas Trax truck. Most Traxxas vehicles, when you get into the brushless line, will come with a TQI radio that has Bluetooth capabilities. If you want, you can go online and read up on that some more too. So that'll be your Traxxas standard radio. And then now next we have our Sen F450 radio, which isn't a truck I talked about, but I wanted to show you the radio. The truck is that big scale truck over there that I kind of showed you guys. Most of the standard radios now, guys, are running 4 AA batteries, just so you have an idea. But anyways, here's your on and off switch. You do have a function button and a channel 3 button. You also have your trims and your reverses. And this radio actually feels pretty good on the hand, but it does feel like a very cheap radio. And then so next, you're going to have this radio here, and this radio here is an SCX24 radio. It is a little bit of a smaller radio, but it is still a full-size radio. And you do have some functions under here, such as steering trim, I guess you don't actually, sorry. You have your dual rate, your bind button, and your channel button. And then low, medium, high to set how fast you want the RC to go. Channel 1 and channel 3 buttons. So there's that radio for you guys. So next here you have a computer radio. This is called a Spectrum DX5C. This will not come with any of your ready to run vehicles unless maybe you buy something used and it comes with it. The reason I'm showing this radio is it's a more advanced radio, and I just want to show you guys what you possibly can get in the future. So if you turn it on, you're going to have a screen up here that tells you everything. All your different models you can select and things like that. I'm not going to dive too deep into this radio, guys. If you are interested in this radio, maybe you already have RC stuff and you're just watching this video, you can look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of guys that have reviews for it that explain it fully in depth. This is a great radio. I love this radio. Actually, I have no problems with any of the Spectrum radios. They all work fantastic. So that is it for radios, guys. We're going to move on to the next subject now. Alright guys, so next we've got batteries here. I'm just very quickly going to go over what they are. So this is a 6-cell nickel metal. This is a 2S Lipo, 3S Lipo, 4S Lipo, and a 6S Lipo. And now basically what that means, if you don't know what that means, is these are all going to be different size lipos, meaning more power. So your nickel metal battery is going to be a 7.2 volt. Your 2S lipo is going to be a 7.4 volt. Actually, most 2Ss are 7.2 volt too. So they have the same voltage ratings, but your higher milliamp hour on the lipo and things like that are going to help you along the way a lot better. Then up next, you're going to have your 3S, and this is going to be 11.1 volts, which is one more S than the 2S. And what that means is it has one extra cell, so you're going to be able to pull that 11.1 voltage out of it and get a lot more power out of your RC. Then up next, you're going to have your 4S Lipo here. This is a Spectrum battery. It's 100C. It's a 4S 14.8 volt. Also, just to throw on there, guys, the higher the C the battery, the better it is for your RC, depending on what RC you have. Do some reading up on that for your RC you have. Always look at what your RC requirements are and make sure you match it so you're running the correct lipo on it. So this battery is going to be a 14.8 volt. It's going to have one more cell than your 3S battery, which adds another 3.7 volts on. Now we're going to put that forward like this. And then next, you're going to have your 6S Lipo. This is going to be a 22.2 volt, and this is actually going to be 2 more cells than your 4S, meaning that it has 2 more extra lipo cells in there to help with more power. So depending on what RC you're going to be running, there's RCs that take 6S, there's RCs that take 4S, Traxxas takes 4S, there's going to be batteries like 3S. A majority of the 110 scale vehicles I showed you today can take 3S and 4S. And nickel metals really nowadays have a whole different majority of things they do, because if you have a Traxxas Nitro truck, they will start your truck for you and your starter wand. We're not going to get into that though. And then also like that ECX truck I showed you back there actually is made for a nickel metal battery, but you can run lipo in it. But when you buy them new, sometimes they come with nickel metal batteries. So just something to keep in mind, guys. Another thing to keep in mind with lipo is that you need to be safe when using lipo batteries, guys. They're nothing to mess with. You can get hurt using them. Make sure you have a quality charger. And then something else I like to do is, so we're just gonna take a look at this lipo here. Go ahead and plug it in. So as you can see, it's a 2S. All is at 8.32 volts. Cell number 1 is at 4.13. Cell number 2 is at 4.16. So they're about 3 off from each other. That's not super bad. If I balance this lipo, I'd probably get them right on. So that isn't too bad. That's a good lipo. That's what you want to see on your guys' lipos, is within about, well, usually I like to see within 1 or 2, but I'm sure if I give that battery a proper balance and storage charge, it'll bounce back up to what it should be. That is something else to always keep in mind, guys, is always keep your batteries at storage charge. Let me go ahead and see. So while we're talking about batteries, I might as well bring up my charger, one of my chargers. So this here, come on, focus. So this here is going to be a charger jack of all trades. This charger is pumping 120 watts to each channel, which means you can charge bigger batteries faster. Something else to keep in mind when you're using a battery charger is always keep your milliamp hour at what you charge at. So if your battery's at 5200, this should be at 5 amps. If it's a 2S, make sure it's set to 2S. And on this current charger, it's very easy to use. So you're going to come here, program select, Lipo battery, Lipo, Life, LIHV. You can also check your bat with a battery meter on this charger, and then bat memory, PB bat, NiCad battery, nickel metal battery. We're going to go back to Lipo. So now this charger can do a lot of different functions. It can balance, it can charge, it can fast charge, it can storage, and it can discharge your battery. So you go ahead and you put that 50 amps at 5.0. Then we're going to go ahead and put this at 2S. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and use a different battery because that one. So just for the sake, guys, we're actually going to switch that to 3S, and we're going to charge it 3S Lipo. So we need to match the amps, 5.2 to the milliamp hour, 3S. Gonna go ahead and plug this battery in. So now here we go, guys. Here is your functions. As you can see, it is charging. So you have Lipo 3S. Right now it's charging at 0.2 amps. It's at 12.53 volts. It's balanced charging. This is how long it's charging. This is how many milliamp hours have gone into it. Here is your cell readings. As you can see, that cell is a little low. I don't like to see that. Hopefully that gets brought up and they get all brought even. And then if you go back, you can do end voltage, which is going to be 12.6 volts because it's a 3S. End power voltage is 4.19 volts. Exterior temp is 0 degrees Celsius. Inside the charger is 26 degrees Celsius. Temp cutoff is 80C. Safety timer is 120 minutes, so it won't charge this battery past 120 minutes. Capacity cutoff is at 5,000. Now here we are back to our main screen. Some chargers are very loud, some are not. Another thing to think about when buying an RC truck is what connector is it going to run. Now, most of my RC trucks, when I get them, I just have one connector I run, which is an EC5. I love the EC5 connectors. As you can see, most of my batteries are them besides this one Traxxas and the Steams. But like this one charging is running an EC5. This one is running an AC5, which is the same thing as EC5. It's just their smart connection. And this one is also running an AC5, which is the same thing as an EC5. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff out of the way and I'll move on to the next. Alright, so next guys, I just want to take a quick second to talk about brushed motors versus brushless. So here is going to be your brushed motor. Here's going to be an open can brushless, meaning the can is open and it's not enclosed. This is more of a race motor for like a drag car. Just kind of give you an idea there of what it kind of sounds like. You notice how quiet it is. You don't really hear much in there besides the magnet going around. You don't really hear much in this one either. This is a pretty good brushed motor. Not very wore. So as you can hear there, a little bit louder because it has brushes that run inside of it. So the main difference between brushed and brushless is your brush motor is going to have little tiny brushes inside that run around the inside that help power it. And now your brushless motor is going to be powered by magnets inside the motor that helps the motor spin. So that creates the motor to be able to spin a lot faster. Brushless motors are usually always going to be faster than brushed. And they do sell higher power brush motors that you can get that almost as close as brushless, but are never going to be as fast as brushless. I suppose there is some brush cars out there that's faster than brushless that people have made and stuff, but rule of thumb is usually brushless is always faster than buying a ready to run kit. Guys, I want to talk about very quickly is just RCs when you buy them. So if you've been on YouTube, you probably watched unboxing videos and things like that, and you see that RC cars come with a manual. They come with some extra tools and sometimes some extra parts. So this is from my team associated RB10. We're just going to quickly take everything out of the box. We're going to kind of go over what all it comes with. So the first thing that you're going to get out of here is, well, with this, I guess you get a ticket of declaration of conformity. Never seen that before. That must be a team associated thing. Then you're going to get a box of tools, or a bag of tools. You're going to get some extra parts for suspension tuning. Then you're going to get a Reedy SC600 brushless ESC manual, a radio manual, and this just shows you some of their upgraded parts if I'm not mistaken. That's what it does. So you can go through that and kind of look through that too, other cool stuff. And then this here is going to be a troubleshooting guide for the brushless motor, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be a troubleshooting guide, actually, just for the car itself. And then this is going to be your radio manual. That's going to explain the radio to you. And this is going to be your actual manual for the car that shows you how to work on the car. And it's going to show you all kinds of different things. So as you can see, there's how to install your battery and things like that. So I'm going to throw this all back in the bag because I don't want to lose any of it, because I like keeping my manuals for my RC stuff. Alright guys, so next we're going to talk about RC tools. And this is one of the things with RC that stresses me out the most about new people when they come into the hobby. Is if you don't have quality RC tools and you use a lot of the tools out of the kit, you're going to end up stripping things out. And it's never a good thing to be doing when using RC tools. So just something to keep in mind. So just an idea, guys, is that if you're gonna get a tool bag like this, the nut driver and the wrench here to adjust the cambers I will use, but like these little Allen wrenches, I don't ever use them. In fact, I have drawers full of them. But I like tools like these here. These are called Dynamite Tools. They're gonna be a 1.5, 2, and a 2.5, and basically your whole RC collection. These will work, guys, depending what size RCs you have. Now these are going to be manual, meaning you're going to use your hand on, turn, and turn. And then another great option that is sold out there is Mip Speed Bits, and you can buy like a Rotobit driver like this off eBay or Amazon very cheap. And basically this is just going to let you fix your RC with a tool, so you're not spinning and turning back in all the bolts all the time. But if you do use one of these, be very careful because you can strip out bolts. So if you're first starting out, I would suggest using hand tools, and then down the road buying something like this. The very last thing I just want to talk about with you guys very quickly is just make sure you always keep up on RC maintenance. And what that means is, after every time you drive them, make sure you clean them off. Make sure they're ready to be stored. Make sure you put your Lipo batteries into storage charge. And also make sure you're keeping your diffs greased. Make sure you have the right fluids in the diffs. Make sure your shocks are good. When your springs start getting worn out, replace your springs. And if you want to do upgrade parts, go crazy. But just keep in mind, guys, to maintain your stuff. If you maintain your stuff, it's going to last a lot longer. This video has gotten a lot longer than I planned on it being. So if you guys stuck through this whole thing and you watched it, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I gave you some helpful tips today on what you want to do, what you're looking for. Just keep in mind, Lipo batteries at our hobby shops are going to be different than my hobby shop, so you might have to buy a different brand. They may not have the RCs that I've showed you here, so you might have to buy something else, or you could buy it online. I will, down below this video, drop everything that we talked about today, such as the Mip Speed Bits and other things like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and guys, make sure you subscribe.